Chill here with Serious Talis Moon. Let's take for a video together. And while I'm uploading the the true state of the real estate of the Detroux affair, um, more implications of this topic, not only on house affordability, but I was talking about housing first and believing the patient or patient sovereignty when it comes to schizophrenia or psychosis or people believing that they are spied on, um, which is very weird to call it uh, um, psychotic contact in the very open AI surveillance interfaces that that are there. I was thinking about another implication of the Detroux dossiers and the Epstein files, and that is the fact that I was talking about the traffic lady across the street is basically not getting housing because there is no housing independent of ability to work um, for a limited time for people that, let's say, are recovering from being trafficked or had drug addiction or had to take drugs because they were trafficked. And this is because Israel does not carry the interest to have a strategic intelligence advantage um, that could pervade invasion. As a result of that, we can see that having trafficked people in a country basically means that the country is susceptible to invasion and cannot accurately predict and or act to prevent possible invasion. For example, we saw it with case of 7th of October, but also as my colleague and teacher Krasia Tassio, who looked at it from sidereal point of view, so Mars going invisible around the solar eclipse with Saturn going invisible around the solar eclipse with Mars ingressing to sidereal Aquarius as the ancient astrology election point of Iran to point and attack Israel and United States, what they call bigger devil, little devil. Um, to predict and prevent such an attack, Israel would need to have an intelligence advantage over any Iranian intelligence forces. The case of Finland, that has housing first to homeless people, independent of ability to work for unlimited time. Housing first was invented in the United States but practiced in Finland for unlimited time. That Section 8 dumbfuckery with 9 months and tenants ruining the place because people have no place to stay is not applied housing first. An open dialogue, which is treating schizophrenia and psychosis by believing the patient and honoring their sovereignty while maintaining access to connection, not isolating them, and reintegrating them in the environment where their needs and sovereignty is taken into consideration by the environment, basically adapting the environment to the patient rather than adapting the patient to a maladaptive environment, which originated the psychosis and or schizophrenia. Open dialogue was developed in Netherlands, but again practiced in Finland. Why Finland? If we take a look at United States, its splendid isolation doctrine that ended in Pearl Harbor um, created a very intimate union with Standard Oil and the relevant extortion cult, as well as the banking systems and the JP Morgans, all along to the families from the Gilded Age, that caused interdependency on something that is requiring maladaptive intelligence. Furthermore, the Gladio operation, which reintegrated mafia into the intelligence as informants, together with Paperclip, created a very problematic and unsustainable intelligence challenge where United States cannot effectively prevent invasion and even democide, as we can see with the housing crisis, the crisis of the training around ICE, even if we talk about deportation of illegal immigrants, there are a lot of questionable practices, untrained people chosen to do that. MK Ultra, use of dark occult, again, even use of astrology against individuals. Um, yes, the deprivation of Section 8, the house flippers, and now the coal mines, evacuation of the 10 cities, and the journalists that covered that, violating of the First Amendment in Biden's regime, which permeated to Trump's regime, turning into labor camps and use of imprisoned people, namely the homeless people, in labor camps, death and concentration camps, um, together with the exposure of the Epstein files, which was integrating blue pill, red pill, the academia, entertainment and fashion industry, media, but also the more occultistic side of things, um, and both sides of the political spectrum. So Finland, unlike United States, and unlike Netherlands that has The Hague in it, is in a very risky geopolitical situation. So risky that Finland has basically admitted that it had to work with the Nazis during the Second World War so not to be occupied and looted by Russia or completely enslaved by Russia. This pragmatic approach that is very reminiscent of Kissinger times and Kissinger doctrines um, created a downfall where the Finns definitely wanted, at the aftermath of the Second World War, to regain sovereignty, not just in the face of Russia, but also in the face of a unified Europe. While Finland is definitely a NATO member and a member and in interface with the EU, um, one of its practices was applying housing first to prevent homeless people from being recruited to crime that could undermine Finland from the Russian and European border, and the treatment of psychosis and schizophrenia as believing the patient and integrating them or adapting society to the patient rather than trying to force the patient into maladaptive society. This creates a situation where schizophrenia and psychosis that are basically the result of the maltraining of intelligence, namely rape, torture, to dissociation, loss of sense of self, mind control, allowed Finland to regain an intelligence advantage over both Europe and and Russia, and sustain itself as a sovereign country while being able to be a part of the allied nations without giving up its sovereignty and with providing its own unique sisu value or resilience value of the armed forces. So definitely I'm not idealizing Finland. There's still castration, there's still use of something that should never even be called psychiatric drugs to begin with. Um, and there is still, probably still homeless people, still crime, still trafficked people. But this is where, relative to other countries, the need to have strategic intelligence advantage caused Finland to listen to its schizophrenic patients and respect them so that they wouldn't be mind controlled by KGB and or MI6 and or Mossad, CIA, and relevant European intelligences. Israel, on the other hand, was not so inclined. And we see that costing Israel an unprecedented battle with Iran. And again, yes, they changed the regime because the United States wanted to set foot in what the United States considers New Egypt, which doesn't put Israel in a sovereign position in the face of United States and or the Middle East. Um, However, the lack of implementation, not only in the aftermath of the Me Too, but also before that, of not maladaptingly training intelligence, meaning not raping and torturing intelligence, to loss of sense of self, to mind control networks, to use of dark occult, um, caused Israel being very unprepared in 7th of October and responding like, as an unprepared person would do, with extreme offense to which Israel would be subjected to war crime litigations, unprecedented unreadiness to and unprecedented attacks, taking 2 years to release kidnapped people, allowing kidnapped people to be murdered while we are a high-tech nation. So we should have had the exact footages and laser-focused weapons to release them. This unprecedented surprise attack could only be manufactured by the extortion cults that he knew and planned well, and the lack of implementation of Finland-like standards for housing first, independent of addiction to drug, independent of ability to work for unlimited time and believe in the patients, adapting the society to the so-called schizophrenic patient, and basically it costed Israel being in growing and growing discomfort in the face of international law, international arena, and essentially its key position in the Middle East that could only be sustained when it was the only rational atomic player in the field. Once Iran regime is being replaced, Israel loses, on the one hand, its so-called existential threat, on the other hand, which was incentive to army recruitment and intelligence maintenance, but on the other hand, its key position um, as a mitigator from between the East and the West, or the or or the almost only allied nation to the West in the Middle East, which basically to Israel means beyond devastating implications. No matter what, the people that thought that they're going to have a mansion in Gaza or oil dividends in the Dead Sea, they should know a little bit more about what business with United States look like. In fact, we should ask Africa. And that includes the oil lootery or gas lootery at the border of Lebanon that Israel has. There is a reason why Finland and especially Norwegian are a part of NATO. This all of those training sessions took place in Detroux-like estates and Epstein-like estates. That was the point of those estates. Um, and yay, it actually uploaded in full. Hurrah! Um, and this is something to really remember. And then we beg the question, is NATO ready like Finland or unready like Israel? Is United States trying to be ready like Finland or maintaining its preparedness like Pearl Harbor? And the latter is currently the case. I've been addressing these topics in the past 2-3 years, and these are more implications of the Epstein files and the Detroux states.